to Zoom In, Zoom Out, your global look at news from Taiwan. I'm Laurel Stewart. Taiwan's official language is Mandarin, but the government actually recognises 22 languages. One of those is Taiwanese Hokkien. But where did this language come from, and why is it so important to Taiwanese identity? Let's take a look. It's a language that arrived in Taiwan with immigrants from China's southern Fujian province in the 17th century. Taiwanese, Hakka and indigenous languages are still spoken in Taiwan, but government efforts in the 1960s to promote Mandarin as the national language meant many people stopped teaching their children these languages. Today, only 30% of people born in the 1990s can speak Taiwanese. To help us understand the significance of language and its impact on identity, I'm joined today by Khoo Hui-lu. She's a professor of linguistics at National Taiwan Normal University. Some of her research covers the perceptions of young people on different varieties of Mandarin, as well as why Taiwanese is an endangered language. Hui-lu, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Let's start with some context. When we talk about the Taiwanese language, there are many ways to refer to it. We can hear people saying Taiwanese or Taiwanese Hokkien, Taiyu or Minnanhua. What is the differences between these languages or the way that we refer to it?
The term Taiwanese has been used in Taiwan since at least early 20th century when Taiwan was ruled by Japanese. And the Japanese government called it Taiwanese just because this is a language that the very majority of Taiwanese speak. So it's called Taiwanese. And other names like Southern Min, Minnanhua, or Hokkien are imposed here to Taiwanese after the nationalist government or the KMT government came to Taiwan after World War II. And this name, Hokkienese or Southern Min, imposed to build the link of Taiwan and China.
How has the language evolved since it came to Taiwan? How is it no longer the same language, if it has changed?
The language involvement of Taiwanese is actually like all other natural languages in the world. So it contacts with the local language here, the indigenous languages here, and also it contacts with Japanese because Taiwan had been ruled by Japanese for 50 years. And also the language itself would evolve. That's what happens in all languages.
Right, and so it's survived the Japanese colonial era. It's also survived the period of authoritarian rule under the Nationalist Party. What is the relationship between the language and Taiwanese identity?
As you say, it survived a Japanese colonial rule and even survived the martial law period in Taiwan. Okay, so actually during these two periods, Taiwanese have been used as an identifier of Taiwanese identity against the ruling government. In the video we just seen, Taiwanese has lost a lot, and young people no longer speak Taiwanese, or I would say they no longer speak Taiwanese fluently. But to them, Taiwanese remains certain symbolic value. If you recall the 2014 Sunflower Student Movement, in that movement, most of the speeches were conducted in Mandarin. But the theme song, or I would say the song of that protest, was a Taiwanese song. And even the young people, even they don't speak Taiwanese, they speak that song in Taiwanese. And that movement was a movement to show the young people's will to be Taiwanese instead of be Chinese.
So you say that young people are still using it. It's more of sort of a revolutionary tool in that way today. It's also the second most spoken language in Taiwan. Where do we hear it being spoken? Is this an urban or rural language? Is it in these kind of social movement contexts or in university, in schools? Where is it most commonly used?
So for young people, Taiwanese is the language of the old people. And also they use Taiwanese specifically for certain functions, for example, for entertainment, which is actually stigmatized. And also, there are other labels to Taiwanese, and these labels are the stereotyped label that was formed during the national language movement, which has been implemented for about 40 years since the end of World War II. And during that time, Taiwanese was stigmatized as a language of rural people, insane people, and low-class people.
So I'd like to zoom in on the current context, what you were just saying about it being a stigmatized language. Is that because of the national language movement and it's just continued from that? Or is it something that has just changed over time as Mandarin became more predominantly spoken?
I would say it's a remains from the national language movement because that policy had been implemented for a very long time. And during that time, Taiwanese was banned, of course. And in addition to the physical regulations, there was invisible and psychological measures. So, for example, in movie or TV dramas, the figures that speak in Taiwanese are those in lower social class or unprofessional persons. So even though the national language movement is no longer as active as it had been, the remained stereotype, the labels are still perceivable to the young people.
And because the language is no longer being spoken by young people as much anymore, is the government doing anything to promote it or protect it?
So the motivation for the Taiwanese for young Taiwanese activists are mainly national identity. So now we are facing an ironical situation. Young people are more Taiwanese conscious. They want to identify themselves as Taiwanese and they want to show to other people that they are not Chinese. But the problem is Chinese or Mandarin is the only language they can speak fluently. And that's why we often see people making stickers or any or other kinds of signs and writing, "I am not Chinese, I am from Taiwan." But if they can speak Taiwanese, they will no longer be easily recognized as Chinese.
So we've seen the government push for its bilingual by 2030 policy, in which it's trying to encourage school children to learn English and Mandarin by teaching normal subjects in English. One of our analysts in a previous report said that this won't impact people's ability to learn or teach languages like Taiwanese. This is what she says.
Studying another language won't actually be harmful to your mother tongue in any way, and you are able to you have the ability to spoke out for yourself, spoke out for your own culture and identity.
Do you agree with this? What do you think the impact of this policy will be on languages like Taiwanese?
Of course not, because by mother tongue, the definition of mother tongue now in Taiwan has become various. To the community to a linguistically stable community, a mother tongue is usually is the same language of the parents and it's the language of the thinking language. But now in Taiwan, the term mother tongue has become, actually the meaning of it has become an heritage language or ethnic language. So if we take the most neutral meaning of the term mother tongue, that means the language you speak most fluently and you speak it from your childhood and it's the language of your thinking, then to most of the young people in Taiwan, their mother tongue is not Taiwanese, neither any of the Taiwanese local languages. So linguistically, their mother tongue is not Taiwanese, and Taiwanese needs to be revitalized. So if the government promotes only language and neglect Taiwanese, then Taiwanese will continue to lose.
So what does the government need to do to protect it? If they've got these policies that bilingual, they're focusing on Mandarin and English, how can they also protect Taiwanese?
I would say first they better change the name bilingual and change it to at least multilingual. And I totally agree that Taiwanese people need to better English ability in the era of globalization. So what I think is that we should have some subjects in school taught in Taiwanese, because Taiwanese is the lingua franca and the best candidate for Taiwanese identity. And also, currently, I think the government treats it more or less like a foreign language. So we have a Taiwanese course in school, but only 1 hour per week. But actually, we still have in the community or in the society, there are still about 2 generations native Taiwanese speakers. And the problem is in the past maybe 30 or 40 years, the society of Taiwan has become a de facto Mandarin monolingual society. That means these native Taiwanese language speakers no longer speak Taiwanese in public domains, and they even don't speak it in their daily life. So I feel that the government should try to rebuild the Taiwanese-speaking community so that the mid to old age native Taiwanese speaker can re-speak this language. So, and in this case, we can revitalize this language very soon and to bring this language back to the community. But if the government didn't see this point and still treat it as a foreign language, and I don't think we have a very big chance to save this language.
It sounds like if the government can impose some policies that encourage people to speak it in their everyday life, and then if there's also the desire of people also to kind of get back in touch with that, then those two can kind of bridge that gap to ensure that it survives. Hui-lu, thank you so much for your insight today. It's been really helpful.
Thank you.
This has been Zoom In, Zoom Out. For more stories from TaiwanPlus News, you can follow us on social media. Thank you so much for watching.
We bring you stories from Taiwan.
Every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? Weekdays on TaiwanPlus.